Welcome to the Soul Tribe Podcast. The Soul Tribe Podcast was created to help you navigate through the world of spirituality, wellness, and self-development in an easy, grounded, and relatable way. We break down everything from the Akashic Records, manifesting, spirituality, and so much more. We want to help expand your boundaries and bring the spiritual world to you in a fun and easy way. Get ready to be inspired with tips, tools, and easy to digest information. Let's do this.
Hi everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the Soul Tribe Podcast. Today we're going to do an episode about boundaries. We thought it was a really interesting one to do because most of you will be home for the holidays with your families or close friends, relatives. If you're not, you're probably on your way there, driving there. And if not, you decided not to go because you were too busy or you were trying to avoid it. But we thought it was a really good idea to do this one because some of us find ourselves coming back into the atmosphere with family, and we'll talk about it now, but it can get a little testy for us. So we're going to go through some things that we experience, that we find happen to us and other individuals going on, our own personal experiences and the things we've seen through the Akashic Records readings and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to start by saying what I consider to be personal boundaries. And for me, it's setting a limit and saying, this is as far as I'm willing to go, or this is as far as I can go, for me to stay joyful, happy, sane, and overall feeling balanced, right? If I go past this line that I'm setting right here, I'm no longer going to be joyful and happy. I'm no longer going to feel balanced. I'm probably going to feel like you're robbing me of energy or time or too much attention or whatever it is, right? So for me, that's a boundary. Setting the line and saying, up until here, I can do this. Past this, I can't go on. But Lorena, let's hear what you would define boundaries as for you.
For me, I think it's a lot to do with kind of people not overstep. Well, I think first of all, it starts with me because I think a lot of my life I've not put up boundaries with myself or people around me. So that's been something I've been dealing with and trying to get better at. But I think if I were to kind of sum it up quickly, it would definitely be being able to respect myself, being able to ask what I need, being able to tell someone, no, this is disrespectful, tell them this isn't right, this doesn't feel right to me, being able to speak my mind, and being able to remove myself from situations without feeling bad, because I think a lot of times for me, it's always about, you're scared to say something to someone because you're afraid how they're going to take it, or if they're going to get hurt, or if it's going to, be something that they'll hate you for, or, something like that. But I think in general for me, it's just been hard to speak my voice during these years of my life, especially these last few years. It's something I'm working on, becoming more vocal. But I think a lot of it, always for all of us, it starts with our family, right? That's where we learn to put boundaries up. And I think Lucia's always been a little bit better at that than me. I've always been a little bit more, oh, well, I can't do this, I won't do this, or I'm not allowed to do this, instead of kind of paving my own way and being like, well, this is something important to me. I need to do this because this is going to make me happy, where I've never been able to really do that my whole life. Now I'm starting to. But I think our families play a big role in how we manage boundaries and how we kind of go out into the world, even work, when you go to work, or your friendships, your relationships, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your husband, wife, whatever, right? But for me, it's being secure in yourself and being able to speak your mind, basically.
Yeah, that's funny you say that we both very different with boundaries. You've always been, since we were younger, you've always been like, if the group's doing it and they want that and they expect you to go, like when you're a kid playing, for example. I remember you would always, even if you were tired or you didn't want to go, you'd always go anyways. You'd be tagging behind, and you could tell that maybe Lorena needed a nap or she was tired. But she was still going because she was expected to go by everybody because everyone was going. And I think that since you were really young, it was a way of being. That's something that comes with your, I guess, character trait or your personality, right? And yeah, I set boundaries a little bit better than you. I'm a bit of an extremist though. Like I might set boundaries I'm like, no, I'm not passing this line and that's it. Don't even push me for it. Like, so I think that there's got to be a middle between how extreme I am with boundaries and how you're very, it's easy to push you past your boundary. So I think the key is to find the middle, respect yourself, but those around you that need you, you'll be there. But it's really hard. Like you said, it's loving yourself, right?
Yeah, because if you love yourself, you're not going to put yourself into a situation where you're going to be completely drained of energy or hanging out with people you don't want to hang out with, or, going to a Christmas dinner with your aunt and uncle that you just can't stand and that they constantly put you down. Or I don't know, like it could be huge things, it could be little things, but ultimately they're going to drain your energy. They're going to make you feel really crappy, and they are not going to make you feel like you're living your truth, because in my mind, living your truth is basically being able to tell anyone and everyone in your life what you need and what doesn't work for you in the most respectful and kind and loving way, obviously. But them also being able to respect that, understand you, and being able to reciprocate that. So that doesn't only, I think boundaries has to go both ways. It's not just you asking or like demanding things, right? It's like, I need this, or I need you to not do this, but what can I do for you where I can also help you work on your boundaries, and I don't want to overstep anything that might not make you feel good. It's so weird, because I think for everyone it's going to be different. Not everybody's boundaries are the same. So that's where it gets a little bit hard, I think, in relationships and family, right?
I don't think with a family, most typical family dynamics, I don't think that someone can go, hey, all right, so this is my boundary, by the way, and I expect you to respect that. Or like, I don't think that a lot of common relationships with your family members, you don't openly talk like that in that manner, right? It's very different. So it's not as clean cut as going, this is it, this is the maximum I can give you, just after that, like, leave me alone. And I think that there's like this, it's this weird thing that happens. And I think most of us have this, where you're an adult, you've left your house, you might even be married and have kids, but then you walk right into your parents' house and you feel like you turned back into that person that used to live there, that person that was like younger, and your parents take their role with you, and it's almost like you revert back to the role with them. And this happens a lot. I feel like that sometimes when I go back to mom and dad's house, I'm like, oh, it's almost like you feel like you're a child again. And, they can tell you what to do and how to do it, and you're an adult now. Like, so sometimes I think it's frustrating for a lot of us that our parents don't go, okay, she's an adult now, and she has her family and kids, or he's an adult now, he has his family and kids. Let's all be adults that are family members. No, it stays as a parent-child relationship, and it can be really tricky for the child that's grown up, that's an adult now, because you feel pressured into becoming a kid again. You might react like a kid again, like overreacting, getting angry, almost like a teenager.
I think every family dynamic is different, but I'm at home right now. I'm actually recording in Uruguay. And it's hard. It's always so hard to go home. Like, you could have the best family, the most supportive parents, the best brothers and sisters. Like, it's always hard because it's pulling you away from your reality, what you see every day, and putting you back into maybe that role that you used to have with your parents, let's say. And it makes you feel like it's like a time warp. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's like a time warp. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it makes you see yourself. Like, it makes you look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what was this how I was? Is this how I am? Like, what's going on right now? For me, it's like, it's so weird. And it's not that I feel like they're telling me what to do right now, because that's not really what our parents do, right? But I feel like it does bring me back, especially coming back to your old hometown, let's say. Like, that's the case for me right now. Back to where we kind of grew up, where we went to high school and we finished school, and then we lived here for ages. So it's really hard coming back and being like, wow, and then seeing old people that were in your life and you don't see anymore, especially if you're living far away from home like us. But it's just so weird. I don't know how it's very emotional. That's the word I would use. It's very emotional. And then I think kind of everything can get out of whack and you can feel a bit out of control, and like things are being put in your face and you have to kind of deal with things and maybe look at yourself a little bit differently and work on things. I think it's good in a lot of ways because it does make you work on yourself. But at the same time, for me, like, I don't know, there's certain things, like, let's say you were talking about how it's hard with your family to put up boundaries. Like, for example, I remember a few years ago, mom and dad would talk to me about this specific thing. And it got to a point where I remember talking to Joe about it all the time. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't take it anymore. It just brings me down every time they would incessantly talk about this specific subject. Until one day, like I said, I remember going to therapy and everything, and I was working on myself and self-love and all that. And one day I said, I have to say something. I said, look, if you guys want to talk about this on your own, great. Please don't bring the subject up with me because emotionally it makes me feel really bad. And I leave this call, because it's always on Skype, obviously. I leave this call feeling so anxious and so emotional that I just can't do this anymore. Like, I can't talk about this. Like, if you can just respect that would be great. I'd never done that before. And they did respect it pretty much, not 100%, but it got better at least, but
I think the issue for you there is that you're one of those individuals that everyone's opinion, it like really weighs you down a lot.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, am I wrong? Am I right? Like it makes you question your decision or what you're doing. And then that creates doubt. And then it makes you feel emotionally maybe down or unbalanced. Whereas for me, like, it was different. Like, for example, when I was going through the divorce, I obviously heard mom and dad's opinion about what I was doing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get divorced and I'm going to leave Cayman Islands. And I'm going to go to Europe, and I really don't know what the plan is yet. And I'm going with a baby, by the way. So you can imagine mom and dad's reaction was a typical, reaction you'd expect from a parent. They were worried. They thought it was a bad decision, and they're thinking about the baby, like, their grandchild, like what's going to happen. And so I let them speak about it once. Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah. I heard them. And then I let them speak about it twice. I said, okay, that's it. That's the last time I'm talking to you about it. That's it. The decision's made. You're not going to change my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's hard. You know what you want and when you know what you need. And in the end, I'm glad I made the decision. And in the end, everything devastating that they listed was going to happen did not happen, because I listened to myself. And this is all related to the intuition episode, right? That we talked about, in the beginning. I think it was episode, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 or something. 5. But that's one of the boundaries. This is my decision. I need you to respect it. Like, I'll listen to your opinions. I'll put them in my thoughts maybe tonight, but once I've decided that doesn't count for me, or I don't think that's a problem for me, then I'm going to discard it. Do not bring it up again. Like, stop pushing me. I am my own individual. I'm an adult. I can take care of myself and make my own reality. I don't have to, accept your reality. And that's another thing, the changing of perspectives. Like, not everybody sees the same situation the same. What seems devastating to one other person, to me, seemed like an opening door to a new world and new opportunities and a better life for me and Aurora, right? So that's a whole new thing. What seems traumatic and awful and dangerous for a parent towards their child, for the child, it could be something else. And there's a boundary to set there. The child needs to say no, like, mom, dad, I understand, or, whoever your authority is, I understand that you're concerned about this, but this is what I'm doing. I know this is best. I have good intentions. And yeah, it's difficult. Yeah.
But you're very good at that, which I'm working on that, and I'm getting better at it, but it's the first tuning into your feelings, right? You tune into what you're feeling. When this person says this, or when they do this, or when this happens, how do I feel? Like, if you're able to kind of break that down a little bit and unpack it and say, okay, every time they do this, I feel, like I was saying before, anxious, or I get anxiety, or I feel emotional, I start crying, and it's because they're bringing up this subject or doing this thing. okay, I've identified the problem. Perfect. Is it something that I need to work on? Like, I think that's always a good thing to ask ourselves. Is it something that's coming from me, maybe not the other person? I don't really need to speak to them about it and I can work on it myself. If it's not, in your case, it wasn't. It was them constantly dragging you down with like making you feel bad about a decision you were making, which we all know when you make a decision, you're going to go forward with it. No one's going to change your mind. People can tell you how they feel. You know, it's kind of our job not to take things personal, right? But then you tuned into that feeling, you had a decision, you realized that what they were saying wasn't making you feel so great and that you were going to do it anyway, so they might as well kind of pipe down. And you were direct with them. You told them, like, this is my limit. You can't talk to me about this anymore. If you are concerned, great, we can talk about it maybe in a different way, but don't drag me down and don't make me feel bad about something that I know I'm going to do and I know that's right for me. That's something you're very good at. Maybe the only thing I would say with, like you were saying before, the extremes, like I go to one extreme, you go to the other one, like you might get a little frustrated and you might say it in a way that might hurt them sometimes. So maybe that's where the line is, that you have to be careful, because when we maybe tell people, you know, you're crossing a line with me, don't talk to me about this anymore. We have to be able to say it in the most peaceful and loving way, but at the same time be assertive, right? Because you don't want someone to like be like, oh yeah, she doesn't mean it. You know, like that's the tricky thing. Like, where's the line where you can be assertive and tell them like, I'm serious about this. You need to respect this because this isn't right. That's where I find it tricky.
And as an Akashic Records reader, I think the most common version of boundary issues that I see is I get a lot of, I have this friend, or, you know, I have this close friend, and he or she is draining my energy with their problems. And they keep calling me and they keep coming over. And when they leave my house or I get off the call, I feel exhausted. Mm-hmm. And I love her or I love him, but I feel like I can't do this anymore. And I know they need me. And if I leave, it's going to be worse for them, but I can't do this anymore. Like that's one of those boundaries that I see a lot of as a reader.
That comes up a lot.
The response from the masters are usually their energy level of the other individual is very low and yours is higher, evidently. And life balances itself like Mother Nature does with wind. Life balances itself, and that person's low energy is absorbing your energy. Even if it's over the phone, they can actually still absorb your energy. It's incredible. And so that's where the masters and the Akashic Records always say, you got to set a limit. Like, I can talk to you, but I can't, like, I'm really tired. I'm going through my own things in life, or whatever it is you need to say to the person. But the thing is, you can't feel bad about setting boundaries, because that's the issue most of those people that are coming to the reading is having. They don't want to hurt their friend. They want to be there for their friend, but they're exhausted. They can't keep doing it, right?
Yeah. That's so common. I get that quite a lot as well in readings, questions of that kind, right? But I mean, I think another thing we need to think about with friendships, particularly with friendships, because family's family, we don't really choose them. They're there. We accept them and we try to live, heal from whatever, you know, we all have trauma from families. That's normal. It could be very small. It could be big. It doesn't matter. But I think with friends, we choose our friends. But when you look around, start really looking around at your closest friends and what they bring into your life and what you bring into their life. And if most of these people that you're surrounding yourself with are this negative, low vibe, people that are maybe bringing you down or aren't really benefiting you in any way, like what does that say about you, right? Because is that you not respecting yourself and not being able to surround, like you don't feel like you deserve to be surrounded by people that uplift you and that can help you grow and help you flourish? Like, I think that has a lot to say. Like, I don't know. That's me though. I think that way.
Yeah, that's true. You need to, and sometimes that is because the person used to be in that place and they've evolved spiritually, or their consciousness or their awareness, or they've been working on themselves and they've progressed from there, but their friend group has not changed yet. It's the same. So they can't, it's not that they're not your friends anymore, but they're just at the place where you used to be. They can no longer assist you in your new path. They don't know what's going on with you. They can't help you and they can't progress with you at the time. Maybe later on, down the line at some point, they'll finally work on themselves. But a lot of times it's just that you've progressed and they have not yet. And they may never, or they may. But you need to make sure that you, like you said, surround yourself with those that are going to teach you to become better even more, because the idea is to keep progressing. The reason why we're still here, we're still incarnated in our bodies, and we're still living a human experience is because we still have things to learn. Because if you were done learning what you have to learn, you would have been gone already. So you need to continue progressing and working yourself, because there are other things that you're here to work on. So yeah, be attentive. Like you said, check to see who's around you. Like, who am I hanging out with? And, who am I spending my time with? Is this energy feeding me things that I need? And am I feeding them? Like, it should be mutual. They should be giving you something and you should be giving them something.
Yeah, it should be a 50-50, like give and take. Are you both helping each other? Because it's not only what they're giving, it's what are you giving them too? Because if you're not aligned and you're not providing any type of, I don't know, like helping them, like it can't always be like your friend coming to you with problems. Because it's not about that. Friendships are more than that. It has to be someone that's around you that you can trust, that you have the same vibe with, that you can help uplift each other when you're going through a hard time. Because that happens, like there's ups and downs in life. But I think it does need to be like a reciprocal relationship. The same thing with, partners, with our boyfriends, girlfriends, wife, all of that as well. And it can't be one-sided, although I do think that there's moments in our lives where it'll be more give, or then there'll be more take, but that it's always flowing. It doesn't always feel that it's one way, going one way or the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then the other example I have as a reader is, and this comes up a lot with mostly women, my mom is too controlling. I've had a lot of people come to me about the issue of a controlling mom. It seems like controlling moms are very common, at least for our generation or people around our age. And it's not easy to balance a controlling mom. And especially if you live in the area where your mom lives, it's even harder. A lot of them, and most of them I found, got away from the situation by completely getting up and moving and going to other countries or other cities. But their mother still tries to control them from a distance, and they feel it more when they go back home to visit. And even like in 3-4 days, they'll be like, oh God. And they'll be like, wait, are you dating anyone? What are you doing? And when are you going to get married? And I want some grandchildren. And what happened to your friend this and your friend that? And like, they want to know about, which it's a mom, they probably miss their child, and it's understandable. Like, they want to know about their child and how they're doing. But it seems to get to a point where the mother controls, decisions that they make and puts their opinion in a little bit too much. And so that's another tricky one, making your mom feel like you care about her and she's still your mom and you're still her child, but okay, I don't want your opinion too much. I can make the decision on my own, or I know what I'm doing, or one day I'll find someone, but not right now. And so I laugh because it happens a lot. I don't know what that one is like though, because we don't have a controlling mom. So I'm not, mom's the other extreme. Mom's like, okay, yeah, you do your thing. You're an adult. Go ahead. Yeah. Don't bother me with it. Like,
yeah. But I mean, when we were little, it was more like, I don't know. Like, she never had to tell me to do homework.
Oh no, they never did that with us. No.
They just knew we were going to do it somehow, even if we were late with it.
But maybe we did it because they didn't push us to do it. I think that's it, right?
Possibly. But I always felt that I'm very different from you, but I always felt this need to, like, this perfectionism, right? Oh my God, homework's done this date. I need to get it done before then. And it needs to be perfect. And then I'd sometimes rewrite pages so they look better. Like, to that extreme of perfectionism where it's draining of energy. It's horrible.
Wouldn't you consider that a boundary yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Expecting yourself to be perfect and do everything perfect. Isn't that a boundary? Just have, like, you know what? I don't have to be perfect. I need to be as good as to get things done and do things well. But that should be a boundary too in some way. Like, I don't know how that works exactly, or how that would work, but you shouldn't expect yourself to be perfect, because no one's perfect.
It's hard, though. Exist. Yeah, if you have that kind of ingrained in your DNA, like me, and I don't know why, because no one's pushed us to be perfect or made me feel like, it was just, I think it was like, if I'm perfect, people will love me, or if I do this perfect, I will be praised for it. So that means people love me. I don't know. It comes along those lines, but it's in my subconscious. It's not in this way where I've started to realize it when I started working on myself, but it's always been there. So imagine like reprogramming that to a point where it's like, no, I can make mistakes. I can do this my own way, and it doesn't have to be this perfect way. I think the podcast has been great in that sense for me personally, because I do most of the editing, and I know you guys are probably going to say this, but a lot of, especially last episode, the sound was horrible, and I felt even like guilty putting it up, because I was like, oh my God, Lucia sounds great in it, because I don't know if the way it came through on Skype, but my voice sounded horrible because it was just, we had a ton of technical issues, et cetera, et cetera. Normally I would have been like, oh, we got to do it over. And there's no time to do it over. It was a channel message. It was important to get to people, and it goes out the way it comes out, and that's it. So that's a struggle for me. Or even just stuff when we put out on social media, it's like, I just have to get stuff out. There's messages that need to go out. People need to hear stuff. That's it. Like, if it's not the way I planned it in my head, it's okay. It's still serving its purpose. And
it's
it
crazy.
is what it is.
Like, everything in our life, we're totally opposites. I'm the other way around, where like, like Sandra will sometimes say, oh, I can tell that you did this, because I'll be like, yeah, it's fine. Is it accomplishing when it needs to accomplish? Yeah, okay, fine, then leave it. Why does that? Because I do think so, like, yeah, it's done, whatever. Yeah, leave it. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna waste my time for the next 20 years to make that perfect. Come on, just get it done.
Yeah, I think with certain things that's okay.
I'm again extreme.
And I think certain times you need to be more careful with that. And I know that you are careful with that when you need to be careful with it, but there's things like, I don't have, you have a daughter, you have a lot of things you need to do, you're busy with her. And the same thing with me. Like, I have my job, my full-time job, and then we do this on the side because we love it, and we want to help people, and we want to get a message out. So if that comes out a little bit messy sometimes, so be it. Like, it is what it is. I'm not going to stress out about it. I'm going to try to make it the best I can. But if we have a technical issue, what are you going to do? You can't do anything. Yeah. And sometimes you can't go back and record stuff. You don't have time, or there's not a second chance to do something. So
it's important to like remember that so you have your contractual agreement for this incarnation, right? And this is in the Akashic Records book, but if you were to access it, you would see a bunch of stuff that you agreed on. Like, you agreed, okay, these are gonna be my parents. This is we're gonna be born. This is how I'm gonna be born. This is where I'm gonna be born. This is what, and then you have the karmic lessons. I'm going to learn this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna accomplish this. I'm gonna do this that's pending. And you're like, and also on top of that, there's all this other stuff, like, this is the body I'm gonna have. This is the characteristics of the person that I'm going to be. And you're actually picking, as a soul, you're picking these specific characteristics that are going to help you accomplish the goals that you set. So for perfectionists, maybe there's something that you decided to be a perfectionist because you have to learn to break that. It could be something like that, or it could be that perfectionism is going to help you accomplish something in this life, like a degree of professionalism or whatever it is. Like, the reasons are limitless, right? But it's important to know that our souls don't have that characteristic trait. Like, I think in the 9 years of reading Akashic Records, I remember saying maybe 2 times the maximum, you have the exact same personality and way of being as your soul. Mm-hmm. Only 2 people in 9 years, which means that every other individual I've ever read, including myself, we have personalities that differ from the personality of the soul when it's not incarnated, which means that we chose those. We chose to be like that and chose to do that because, you're who you are depending on where you grow up and who you grow up with. But we're a good example of, we grew up in the same family, we were born in the same place, right? Mm-hmm. And we were taught the same lessons, the same values, the same morals, all that stuff, yet we are so completely different. And that the only explanation is our contractual agreements and our personalities that were set aside for this incarnation were set differently because we were both here to accomplish things that was going to help us do, right?
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. No doubt in my mind. Just, I think when we look at each other and we're able to talk about things and kind of like we're doing right now, we realize that we were raised in the same places, the same way, the same parents, the same situations. Why are we so different? There's no other reason, right? And also, I think a lot of our DNA and where we come from and all that, like all that sciencey stuff. But I think a lot of it can be explained with the Akashic records and where we come from and what we're here to do. There's no other reason. Like, what would there be?
And so it's important for you to love those characteristic traits that you have, you know, because you chose them. You're supposed to, and that's a big thing that the Akashic records always say, like, why do you hate that about you? Love it. If there's something that you feel like needs to be adapted a little bit because it's not giving you a good quality life, then adapt it as best you can. But you're supposed to love it, because if you hate it, it becomes a negative aspect of yourself. And when it becomes a negative aspect of yourself, it becomes a negative aspect of your life and for those around you.
Yeah.
So it's really important for you to love it, accept it, love it, and if it needs to be somewhat changed, okay, go ahead and change it. If you're aware of it, you can do it, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think with what you just said, with like boundaries with ourselves, because I think we think boundaries, we think, oh, okay, cool, boundaries with my boyfriend, boundaries with my mom, boundaries with my sister, boundaries with work people. And I think it all starts with ourselves. The same thing with relationships. If we can't love ourselves, how can we love people around us in the right way and really be there for them and for ourselves? So I think the first thing when we kind of think of boundaries, I think we should always like kind of look at ourselves and look at, you know, the first thing, like we said before, who are we surrounding ourselves with? That's people we've chosen and allowed into our lives. And does that say something about me? Does that maybe show that I don't love myself enough? And if I don't love myself enough, where are other areas of my life that I'm not putting boundaries for myself first? So I think for me, that's been a big struggle. Giving myself time, like you were saying before, you know, saying yes to everything. I always would say yes to everything. Now I find it easier and easier to say no. Like, oh, there's this thing going on Saturday. Are you coming? And I just look at my schedule and I go, okay, I have this Monday, I have this Wednesday, I have this Friday, and then Saturday, I really don't want to have this obligation to go to, which is at night, and I'm going to be tired. And if I'm really honest with myself, I don't want to go, so I can say no. But I think in the past, it was more like, oh yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Everyone's going, so I have to go. It's like that FOMO or that, well, what do they think of me? So now that doesn't even cross my mind anymore, unless it's something bigger where it's like, you know, your best friend's wedding or a big milestone that, you know, if you miss it, it's huge. Then I'll think about it obviously in a different way, and I'll analyze it and I'll try to work around it where my schedule can work around that, you know. But I think in general, like looking at all these things, all these decisions we make, who we surround ourselves with, what time we give ourselves to ground and to kind of connect with ourselves, because that's something I've been struggling with for the past few months with all the projects that we have going on. You know, I'm not meditating, and I know that's not good for me, and that's not good for, you know, the Akashic records I'm doing or for my relationships. I need that space and time to be able to give back to myself so I can give to people. So I think all of that's boundaries. Talking to ourselves, not like, you know, we can voice our opinions and voice what we need to others, but can we do that with ourselves? If we can't do that with ourselves, being able to ask ourselves, what do I need right now? What would really make me happy right now? What do I need to add or take away in my life? Like all those little questions that we kind of avoid and we do ask other people, but not ourselves. If we can start with that and then slowly move it outward to the people.
It's funny because that's another extreme of that we both have. The difference is you, like you said, you just started to say no to certain things. And I a long time ago started saying no, but I was like, come on. Like I've heard myself say this to like people, come on, you're going to get married again after you get divorced. You're probably going to have another kid. You're probably going to move houses. I'm going to have to go to all your housewarming parties. But like, I'm not saying it in a bitchy way, like in a good way. Like you're probably going to have another child. We both know you're going to have another child. I'm going to have to be there. And then you're going to have birthdays. And then both of your children or three of your children are going to have birthdays every year. That's 3 birthdays a year, man. I can't do them all. Like, tell me which ones are more important to you, and I can go to those.
Yeah.
Like, I found myself having that conversation with close friends, and those that are really close to me kind of don't really. I think they don't get offended because they know how I am. But like I'm there for really important things and stuff like that. But come on, I'm not gonna go to all your kids' birthdays and all your housewarmings. How many times are you gonna move houses? Like, come on.
And the fact of the matter is we already have so many obligations in our life. We don't want to be doing things out
Oh
of
my God,
obligation.
yes.
We want to be doing them because we love the person. We want to be there for them. We want to be there for their kids. We want to be there for their wedding. We want to be there for everything. But the reality is we can't. Like if we are there for everybody, we can't be there for ourselves. So there's got to be a
Also, when you
boundary.
have a kid, you're tired. Like sometimes you're like, can I just stay home and sleep?
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. Like, today, today my child was just so much high energy. Like, I just need a nap. Like, let me sleep. So it's hard. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta say no. Like sometimes there's events you gotta say no, and hopefully that person doesn't take it personally. But if they do, is that really your friend? Do they really care? Are they thinking about you and them? Like you're thinking about them to the point where you might lose sleep to go do their thing. If you don't go and they get mad at you, are they thinking about you? Is this a mutual caring? Like that's also important to look at. I'm not saying break up with your friend because the friend doesn't, seem to care about you, but like just observe things like that, because if your friend is very pushy to the point where you need to go to all their events, then
Yeah.
I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay.
Let's talk about that actually. I think that's a good one because I think a lot of people go through that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm one of those people where if someone says, like, I invite someone over and they say, "Oh, I can't," that's fine. That's okay. I'll chill by myself, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. I have other things to do. But there are people that will, throw a party or do this or do that. Things that aren't really necessarily like quote unquote significant milestones or these. It's just a party. They do a lot of parties. They do a lot of stuff. They invite you to everything. And then they get offended when you don't go. Like, how do you deal with that? I don't know, because I don't have a lot of people in my life that do that. But I'd be curious to know how to manage that.
I've actually, you know what? I did have this issue. I had this issue a very long time ago. The person was graduating. It wasn't a very close friend. It was a pretty new friend. The person was graduating, so I wasn't there for for their entire like path of studying and uni and things like that, or college or whatever. I think it was uni they were doing, university. And it was a group of us that were all friends together. We were all invited. It was 4 of us. Only one of them, one of the group of 4 made it. And then it was 3 of us that didn't go. And we were erased from her life. So she totally erased us because we didn't go to her graduation. And when she got really mad, the only thing I did was I messaged. I was very, I don't remember what was going on in my life, because if I did remember, I'd probably say it, but I don't remember. I was kind of like upset or sad. I think it was because I couldn't get, there's paperwork that was getting stuck. I was trying to move back to Cayman at the time. My paperwork was not going through. I was having issues contacting the lawyers and stuff like that, and immigration. So I was really down. It was one of those days where I just felt like I couldn't get the correct contacts. I was really frustrated. I was like, I just want to stay home, have a tea, watch something to distract my mind, and go to sleep early. And that was like kind of my mindset. But there was other things going on that was making me upset, which I don't particularly remember. I just remember the struggle of the paperwork. But that was my reasons behind it. I wanted to distract my mind with like a movie, some tea, and go to sleep because I was tired of just thinking about it. And she got really upset. She got upset at all of us that didn't go. And I remember messaging her. The only thing I said to her was, I'm sorry that you're hurt that I didn't go. I had my own personal reasons for not going. Hopefully you forgive me. If not, have a good life. Literally, that's what I said. Like, I hope you forgive me, but if you don't, then I hope life is good for you. And yeah, that was it. That was it. I never heard back, and we're no longer friends. So I don't know. I don't know if I dealt with it. Maybe I should have called and be like, okay, hey, I'm sorry. I don't know. But that was my limit. And I was like, I didn't feel like pushing the friendship because I just didn't feel it. And it wasn't a really long friendship. It was maybe a few months of friendship. So I didn't really feel like it was that significant. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna, whatever. Like, I didn't mean to hurt you. I just didn't go because I have my own life and I just couldn't make it. Yeah. Maybe somebody would have dealt with it differently and they would have stayed friends. But in my case, that's how it happened.
Like now it's different. I think as we get older, I think people are kind of like, everyone has a busy life. You're working, you have, especially like our age, 30, almost 40. Like people are busy. They have kids, they have families, they have stuff to do, and you're working. So I don't feel like it happens as much. But I do remember in the past having certain friends that were like, oh, come on, let's do this. And I'd be like, I really don't feel like it. I really not feeling it. And they'd be like, come on, just go for an hour. I'm just like, no. And then they just insist to the point where it's like, you either say yes or you tell them to like F off. Like, what do you tell them?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, why aren't you respecting how I'm feeling? And it's like, sometimes I would get to the point with, and it wasn't so much other people maybe, but I feel like this was kind of a big pattern in my life. It was saying yes to everything. And then the day coming up to that event or like a party or going to someone's house, and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to go. Like, why didn't I realize it was going to come to this day and that I wasn't going to want to go? Like, I think as you get to know yourself more too, you realize those patterns and what you're going to want and not want. And then you just stand up for yourself. Like, why do I want to go to your graduation party? I don't. So if you're going to make me go, then you're not really being very supportive of how I'm feeling either. But I do understand when there's cases where, it's a big deal or you kind of can't say no, but you can, you can do it in a different way. Like you always say to me, like, you can go for an hour, you can go for 2 hours and be like, look, I have something else, but I'll go and say hi to you. Like, put your own boundaries. And if you really don't want to do something, just don't do it. Like, if the other person's not going to understand where you're coming from, then I don't see how that's going to be a supportive friendship. Like, that's so hard that someone puts you in a place where you need to feel guilty about something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's a tricky one.
And it's tricky. It's tricky, and I don't.
But I think
you just got to know. I think I
would have probably done what you did. Sorry, I interrupted, but I think I would have dealt with it the same way you did. Like, okay, I'm sorry if this offended you. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm going through these things. I'm busy. I couldn't be there for you. Like, I hope you understand.
Yeah, but if it was like a funeral, I was there. Like it's a graduation. You're celebrating something really good. Like, you don't really need me. You can celebrate with everybody else. I'll meet you for coffee tomorrow. Like, literally, I'll meet you for coffee tomorrow. But tonight, I'm a bit down in the dumps. I'm not feeling it. I'm not going to be good company, but I'll see you for some coffee tomorrow and we can actually spend some one-on-one time, because even if I had gone, it was going to be me with a bunch of other people in that place. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, I really didn't feel like I was going to be missed that much. That's how I saw it. My perspective, maybe her perspective was, you don't really care about me. And so again, we go back to perspectives. My perspective is, you have 15 million friends that are going to be there. You have way more friends than I do, because I knew she did. You have way more friends than I do. You'll have all of them to celebrate with. I'll see you, another day, and we'll meet up for coffee and have some one-on-one time, and you can talk all about your future plans now that you've graduated. That for me is quality. Like, I'm always about quality time.
Me too. I prefer
like, I don't think you can do much with me if I'm in a room with 50 people. But if I'm in a room alone with you, we can talk profoundly about all this stuff, and that's more my style.
I agree.
So it's perspective. It's perspective again. Like, it's perspective. How each person is seeing it. And that she must have been really hurt. That's why she felt like she needed. That was her boundary. She was hurt, and she was like, okay, this friendship's done. You're not giving me what I need, and maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay that she did that, but. I guess we both respected our boundaries in a way.
Yeah, and I think I don't know why I was just thinking about work, because obviously you think of graduating, like you were saying, and then work. And I think work's a big one for people, especially if you're like a perfectionist or a person that feels like you need to like make everybody happy, or I don't know, maybe it's your first job and you feel like you're not doing a good job and that you need to put in extra time. Like, I've been through that with jobs where I was putting in 13 hours a day, trying to even keep up with the work, instead of like saying, okay, wait, this isn't working. I'm not happy. I can't keep up with the work. Someone needs to help me. Like, I'm getting better at doing that nowadays, but I'm sure a lot of people struggle with that. Like, that's a boundary as well. Like, you're at a job for a while and then you get I don't know, piled with work, and they just keep throwing more things at you, and they have to work weekends. Like, no, I'm not working weekends. That's not what I signed up for. And if this job can't get done during my work hours, I can't. Like, there's something going on here. Either we need to hire someone else, or someone needs to be helping with, or I need an assistant. I need someone. But you also have to have a healthy balance and boundaries with your work, because that's a huge part of our lives. That's hours of our lives. We spend more time with our coworkers and the people that are in our offices than we do with our families a lot of times. That's a reality. And I think people need to realize that if you don't put up these boundaries with work and with your career, that it's going to ultimately affect everything. And that for me is like, I let stress get to me. And that's a boundary that I let I let work cross that boundary of letting it get to my health and letting it get to like my sanity. And it's something I have like in my mind and I think about every day now, because it's just,
I've seen you get like so sick
my
over
God.
jobs.
Oh,
Like
sick.
I'll never forget how sick you were in Brazil. Oh my God.
In the hospital once a month.
You were so sick.
Yeah.
We were like all like, she's sick again? What's going on?
So bad.
You know?
Yeah, it was probably, and I was alone. So that was a really hard time for me. Feeling alone, feeling like I had to make this huge decision of quitting this job, which was like the only job I had at the time, which was making me more money than I ever made in Uruguay, for my health. Like that was a boundary I had to like be like, all right, I can't keep this job anymore for more money or whatever it gives me. I have to go back to being like healthy again. I can't do this anymore. This is making me literally, I don't know. I don't know if I keep this up for 6 more months, I might die, you know? Like how is this sustainable? It's not. And that's where I think I had to put a boundary.
I think your issue too was you were also, I remember you telling me that you were scared when you were on the streets a lot, when you'd come home from work late or something.
Yeah.
So I think that was also part of you getting sick. It was you were overworked, you were probably stressed out, and you were scared on the streets. Like you were saying how Sao Paulo was so dangerous and that you didn't feel safe. And so I think it was everything meshed together. And
yeah,
I think it took, I was waiting for you to make the decision to leave. I was going, I wonder when she's going to finally realize you shouldn't be there anymore.
And I didn't want to go.
It took you a while.
I didn't want to go. It was like they gave me this amazing, it was like this job put in this with like a ribbon on it and like a cherry on top. And I was like, oh my God, I can't say no. I didn't have anything here. So I was like, I have to go. I have to at least try it. Am I going to regret if I don't try it? But I'm not one of those people that can just be like, oh, okay, no, this is wrong. Bye. Like a month later. No, I couldn't do that. I was like, I really need to give it at least 6 months to see how I feel and if I can get the swing of it. It was another language. It was a completely way more difficult job than I had previously. And I was completely out of my comfort zone. So it was a lot of factors. And the fact that
that's funny because you know that if I would have been in a situation, I would have been like, oh, I'm not feeling too great. This isn't feeling good anymore. Okay, I'm out.
Yeah, and you know what? I get to the point, and I've realized this, that I put myself in these situations sometimes of waiting so long to make a decision with something, like that work one, for example, that I don't even like think about getting another job there or moving to a different part of Brazil. I just came home. Like I just came back to Uruguay instead of being like, okay, cool. I don't hate Brazil. I just didn't want to be in Sao Paulo. I was like, I could totally go to Rio. Why don't I look for a job there? And I didn't. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done. And I just left. This is over. This is done. Like, and there could have been some other opportunities. Like, obviously I'm happy with the decisions I've made because it's kept me in Cayman now. I'm at Joe, everything. But like, ultimately, I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, especially like in my own, experience, but think about that. Like, are you maybe holding back and not making the decisions you need to make? And then you have to make this huge decision of like changing everything and then feeling so fed up that you just like explode,
But I think the difference is the way you look at it. Again, it's perspective, because you go, oh my God, I'm going to leave this, and this is the job with the cherry on top, and what am I going to do? And I think you see it as everything like very tragic and scary, or not knowing what's going to be out there. Totally. And I'm the one that goes, whoa, who knows what's out there? This is really exciting. This could be something totally new and amazing. Mm-hmm. Let me quit my job, grab my baby, leave this marriage, and oh my God, who knows what's waiting out there for me? Whereas everyone else around me goes, no, Lucia, what are you doing? Like, so it's like I'm seeing it different. I'm seeing like this whole new open door of possibilities that are going to flow in and fly in and like, right? But obviously to a reality. Like, I'm not that stupid. I know that I have to financially know I'm doing this. I'm going to go this. But I think that you see it as totally dramatic and difficult, and I see it as like a new beginning and a new way of being. Possibly something grander will come.
Oh, totally. And it's funny because I do that with myself, but not with everybody else. I'm like, it's amazing. Yeah. Leave your job, do this. It's going to be great. And then I'm like, oh God, when I do that, I can't do that. Are you crazy? I'm going to ruin my life. Like, but maybe it's not, because, everything I've done up till now, I'm happy with. I don't regret anything. Maybe I regret not doing things or making certain decisions. Like, I don't really regret anything, but I mean, like, when you look back, you're like, oh, even though that was hard, I'm glad I did it. Like, I don't look back on my Brazil time and regret having made, like, it was what had to happen, and I know that 100%. But at the same time, it's like, I think if I hadn't done it, I might be looking back now and things would be very different, because that pushed me, that pushed me over a point where it made me kind of stand my ground and be like, all right, I'm leaving Uruguay for good, but I need to make the decision of go to a place that I know I'm going to like, or at least that I feel that's right for me, not because I feel like I got a job there and it's the only thing. Like, no, I'm doing it the right way this time. So it set me on that path. But that's also because I put up those boundaries. I said, I'm not taking this anymore. This is BS. Like, I'm not doing a job I completely hate and that makes me sick, and I'm living in a place I don't like. No more. And, like any place, the grass is always greener on the other side, and it's easy to criticize our lives and, be unhappy with certain things. But if we really take a step back, I think that happens to me, especially when I travel. I'm like, wow, I do have a nice life. I do love what I do, and I am okay with it. I just, you just get stuck in the monotony of things sometimes, and it gets a little hard to see clearly, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
That happens to me a lot. But I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot more I want to say about boundaries. I think that the whole kind of idea with this episode was because of Christmas and the holidays and New Year's and all that, and we all kind of get together with our families, like you said before, and it's a time where we're put into situations that we don't necessarily feel like we want to be in. We kind of feel like we're forced into them because we need to spend time with our families. But I think we can look at it in a different way and try to like shift it and realize that especially like I'm in that right now, where you're being put back. It's like a time warp where you're surrounded by old friends, family, and put into situations where you have to look at yourself. Try not to project it. Try to look inside and be like, all right, why is this bothering me right now? Is it because maybe I'd never put limits with my family? Or maybe it's because I'm not speaking up about this and I need to tell them how I feel. I think it's an opportunity, not to cause any fights or friction with family, but I think it's a great time for us to look at ourselves mostly and really realize how far we've come and where we want to go. And our family's there, they love us, and they could be difficult or not difficult. It could be super easy. You might have a family that's so easygoing that you gravitate towards them and you love them and you want to spend more and more time with them. But that's not the case for everybody, and it's hard. So I think this episode was more about that, kind of, making people not feel alone and realizing that we don't have to be forced into these situations and take things in a negative way. We can actually use them to learn and to grow, I think.
Yeah. I think my one piece of advice would be, like you'd said, listen to yourself and know what it is exactly that you want. And then once you know what you want, fulfill it for yourself. You deserve it. If it's not going to this one event because you want to rest and sometimes it's important to take care of ourselves, and we don't really do that a lot because we're trying to comply with everybody else's needs. So if there's something that you really want to do, listen to yourself and do it, because you're here to live the human experience for yourself. Yeah, you're here to obviously interact with other individuals around you, but if you don't care for yourself and put yourself first, no one else is going to do it for you.
Gosh, no. Oh my God, I love that. And people will always have opinions. So you might as well make yourself happy first. And then, in a loving way, turn down things that you don't feel right for you. Say no when you have to say no. And just be happy. Like, if we're not doing that now, when are we going to do it? You know what I mean? It's difficult. But I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, Lou?
No, I think we've covered basically everything. And I hope that people start listening to themselves and put themselves first, because you deserve it. That's basically my big message.
You do deserve it, for sure. Okay, everybody. So thanks again for tuning in. We're going to see you next week with a new episode. And be sure to follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is @soul_tribe_podcast. We have some really exciting projects coming up. which we will obviously let you know about when the time comes. But I think we're going to try to do the Akashic Record channeled messages once a month, probably. We'll see, but I think the next one we're going to try to send out an Instagram story or a post, and we want to hear your questions. So we want to get like 3 to 5 questions where we can ask on the podcast. General messages, obviously nothing personal, because that's going to be a bit difficult. But I think that's going to be a cool way for us to interact with you guys as well and kind of hear where you guys are at and what you're interested in. So look out for those in the next few weeks. We'll plan those out ahead of time, obviously. And then be sure to follow us on Facebook as well. We have a Facebook page now. And share this episode with anyone you think might benefit with and any of this information we've given out, even past episodes. Share them. That's the way we're going to be able to grow and get our message out there to everybody. And I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. We hope
happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays and happy New Year. Well, I think we're coming next week, but happy New Year anyway. And we hope you guys are enjoying these episodes, and we love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.